Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. We're going to touch on an area that I know is top of mind for most of you, and that's the topic of learning. As we go through all of the changes we're seeing in our enterprise architectures and digital transformation and kind of really getting used to the new normal here, cross-skilling, learning, and fluency around the new concepts becomes super important. And you've raised that many a times. So I thought, what better a topic to take on today than just that, and talk through what's the importance of learning, what is the experience of learning, and what we've learned over the years that we've done that, and then how do we think about the new business of learning. And to do that, I thought I'd invite just the perfect friend, colleague, peer, visionary, and the CEO of Coursera. And many of you know Coursera anyways, but just in 30 seconds, they're obviously focused on learning. They just had a very successful IPO. We're now at 82 million, if I remember this correctly, Jeff, registered users. And so we know from all of our discussions that when you have scale, you have learnings. And so with that, Jeff, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Sanjay, it's an honor to be here. I'm really excited to talk about this stuff.
Excellent. Well, we'll get started right away. Jeff, we're going to pick up the first thing, which is, I hear all this about it's really important to think about skilling and learning and curiosity. That's coming from us. We're operators, implementers, advisors, transformers. I'd like to get a sense of that from you. You're in the business of providing that. What can you tell us?
I think that a lot of people miss when we talk about lifelong learning that there are fundamental reasons why that's more important now than ever. I often speak in business school classes and they say, what do the leaders of the future look like? I said, the leaders of the futures are learners. The reason is change and acceleration. Technology and globalization is changing the world faster than it's ever changed before. The things that we're learning become obsolete, but more importantly, the new things emerging are things that are often critical to know, not the least of which is data. So people talk about reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'd say reading, writing, and arithmetic and data. And it's not just statistics, but it is statistics. It's understanding data, how to retrieve, manipulate, understand, present, infer. These are basic competencies that almost every job role is going to need to have. So I think the folks on this podcast are already kind of at the epicenter of where learning really needs to take place.
One of the biggest things, and you're right, by the way, Jeff, because one of the biggest things we've learned is we've worked both with CIOs, and I think recently we worked with MIT to do a survey across a pretty large sample of CIOs. And what we found is, by and large, data-driven insights represents the number one transformative potential for most companies to unlock. There's a lot of focus on it, and yet at the same time, data fluency, which is all of the things you talked about, becomes one of the largest challenges and obstacles. And so this is an area that is super important to all of us, and it sounds like you're seeing the same from your side, which is fantastic. So if that gives us a base, let's move to the real topic. Look, you've got 82 million registered users. You've been doing this for a while. You've got to have learned something on what's working, what's not working, particularly in the context of experience. And of course, things have changed even more with the pandemic. Talk to us about the evolution of the experience of learning.
Yeah, well, I think we sometimes take for granted, especially in the early days of YouTube, where I forget exactly when that was, in the early 2000s, learning by watching videos and watching people do things is pretty powerful. The idea that you could have short videos that teach you concepts and you can see an instructor and follow along is powerful. The ability to have assessments interspersed with those lectures so that you're actually not only listening to, but then integrating and applying, recalling and applying knowledge is a big part of the learning experience. And then a final piece is hands-on. So can you take a concept and then use a tool to apply that concept to actually build something or deliver something? A lot of what technology is doing is not only making it so that anyone can learn anything in a very affordable, convenient way, but even the pedagogy of learning, the personalization of learning, the way that you can practice your learning is demonstrably more effective when you intermix at least digital technology together with more traditional methods.
So wait a minute. So you're talking through, I think, two or three different concepts here, right? You're talking about the delivery mechanism in digital being a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the personalization component, which is I want the content I want at the time I want it. I don't need to go through manuals and research in advance for when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're talking about something about the change in how we actually use learning or how we come about learning, right? And I'll come to this in a minute because I've got two sons. I know you have daughters, and we'll get to sort of I look at my kids and they learn more off of YouTube than they learn from books, and it's kind of scary as a parent, but it is what it is. But what has running one of the largest platforms in the industry around how people experience and use learning teach you? For instance, how do you even recommend the right content? How do you encourage people to parse it into these bite-sized chunks? Any thoughts on that, and any learnings we can take away?
I think there's a few things. There's one of which we think of as discovery, which is what kinds of things does somebody need to learn? Almost everybody, not all, well, most people on Coursera are saying, I'm not sure what I need to learn, but this is my job. Tell me what I need to learn and then show me the best way to learn it. So a lot of what is important about discovery, and we found a role-based approach to be quite useful, both to individuals, but also to businesses. It is such a service for a business to tell somebody, since you're a designer, here are some of the data skills that you need to know. Designers don't know what data skills they need to know. A lot of people who need to know data don't know what data skills they need to know. So part of it is telling people in your role, these are the kinds of data skills that are important is key. Now on that pedagogy side, so then how do you teach them the data skills most effectively? One of the things that we just published is on our website, if people want to look at it, it's called the Drivers of Quality. We looked at 200 million enrollments, and these courses are actually scored in terms of satisfaction by the learners. We said, what are the attributes of courses that score really well by learners? One is it's the right length. And honestly, the longer the better generally, but it has to be in bite-sized pieces. Hands-on components are really important. Another piece is the right difficulty level. If it's too easy, people will get bored. If it's too hard, they'll drop off. Matching the right difficulty level for the proficiency of the learner turns out to be difficult, but really important.
Wow. It's almost the idea of having to go to a movie hall and pick one of six movies versus going to Netflix and having it serve up recommended choices that meet my profile, my requirements at the time I want to see it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So listen, if that's the key learning, and I go back and think through my early education, I took a number of courses, and at the time I didn't really have a choice. They were offered to me, and it was kind of required. So someone else thought through exactly what I needed to do to get my degree in aerospace engineering, and then it was, step one, step two, step three. You went to Stanford, and you got an undergraduate and a graduate degree. Mm-hmm. And then putting that now in the past and looking at what you do and really where learning is going, what does all of this mean to higher education, to education and the business of learning? Give us some thoughts on that.
If you look at the major industries, you look at retail, it was replatformed by Amazon. You look at transportation, it's being replatformed by Uber. You look at accommodations, it's being replatformed by Airbnb. Spotify with music. Well, higher education is a $2 trillion market that has almost had no change in 300 years. It is now on the verge of becoming replatformed. In other words, you have suppliers and consumers on a platform. We think Coursera is one of them, but there are others as well. And that's going to really increase the rate of innovation. Once something goes on platform, the rate of innovation explodes. We believe that campuses, universities will be very important. Residential experiences will be important for some. But if we think that people need to learn for the rest of their lives, because the world's changing, it means that higher education could be more of a subscription service than a transaction. Right now, it's kind of a 4-year transaction, and hopefully the alumni give you, donations. What about the idea that when you get your degree, I got a bachelor's in English and economics, and I got an MBA. What if I were buying enhancements to my degrees from Stanford as I'm working? I cannot quit my job and go back to Stanford every year, and I don't want to move my family. If you could have a lifelong relationship with your higher ed provider because A, they do it online, B, they offer flexible, job-relevant, ongoing lifelong learning, it really could transform the industry in a big way and provide access to literally 1 billion people who today cannot get access to higher education.
This is really quite something what you're talking about, because I approach this thinking education today. When I was educated, it was the primary thesis was knowledge is not immediately available, so you needed to learn a lot of things and then be able to apply it. I think if you change the paradigm to say knowledge is immediately available with the internet and a bunch of other things, it's about how you contextualize it and how you use it. It actually changes what we need to learn. And I think I get a little bit of that in what you're saying. I also get that learning is a lifelong experience. It's not a 4-year experience, go to college, get it done. And I loved what you said about actually the segmentation and the disaggregation of the social experience of being in a college campus and the educational and in the academic value of what you actually pick up. And if you were to disaggregate that, you might approach the problem differently. But what struck me the largest was just the size of the industry and how, I guess, much in need of disruption it is.
You know, there's $2 trillion. There's about 220 million people paying for college degrees right now in about 26,000 degree granting institutions. 1.3 billion people will become college age in the next 10 years, and only 40% of people ever even start education after high school. The need for more capacity is profound and only getting more important. So, yeah, this is the next big industry to go through digital transformation.
Those are astounding numbers. And I hope it does for our audience what it did for me. It really provokes me to think about the changes that are coming. You know, Jeff, we're going to have you come back and talk to us
I
again.
would love to, Sanjay.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let you go for today. I want to thank our audience for tuning in, and we'll continue the dialogue on LinkedIn. So feel free to sort of make any comments and ask any questions. And Jeff, I'm going to come calling again, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Looking forward to it.